GCSE and A-level students, you do not need to revise all of the content for your exams in the same amount of detail. Now you are listening, let me tell you about high and low yield topics. If you have ever been given any advice about revision, it will be along the lines of revise your weakest topics. However, this advice fails to acknowledge that there are topics that come up every single year, time and time again. They're very important, fundamental concepts to understand that underpin your understanding of other concepts that you learn later on in the course, and the fact that there are some small, nuanced, niche parts of the specification. I want to explain to you that you need to focus your revision on these core principles first and foremost, and there are a few reasons for this. Let's take economics for an example, just because that's what I studied at university. Let's say you lack a fundamental understanding of the interaction of supply and demand. Let's say you also don't particularly understand the balance of payments or particularly the capital account. Your fundamental understanding of the notions of supply and demand will underpin your understanding of all of the other concepts taught in the course. That is what you need to focus on first and foremost. There is literally no chance, nothing pertaining to the interaction of supply and demand will show up in the paper. It's a foundational concept, you cannot get away from it. However, the balance of payments, whilst being very important, don't get me wrong, it doesn't underpin your understanding of anything else. It is less likely to come up, however you can use this as an evaluative tool, blah, blah, blah. This is not about economics. This is about the fact that there are certain things that you need to understand in order to understand other things. I always come back to this example of maths. If you can't rearrange an equation, you don't fundamentally understand that multiplication is the inverse of division, you are not going to be able to solve simultaneous equations or do so many other things. You need to understand what these high yield topics are, what comes up time and time again. And I've been looking at this from the perspective of it will help you understand other things in the course. However, these topics are also much more likely to come up as standalone questions. I understand this video is a bit long. However, if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments, save this video for later, and follow for more daily study tips, because I'm going to be here every single day until your exams.